Welcome to the deep dive, where we really get into the sources you send us. And today, wow, you've given us something quite different.
Yeah, this isn't your usual set of articles.
Oh, yeah,
We're working with excerpts from a novel, Jonathan Safran Foer's Everything Is Illuminated.
exactly. So this deep dive, it's really a journey into, well, a story about stories, isn't it?
It absolutely is. We'll be peeling back layers, looking at how fact and fiction get blurry, and exploring how memory, identity, the past, how it all gets constructed, both in the book and, maybe in our own lives too.
Right. Get ready for some pretty surprising moments, I think, and a real look at how language itself shapes how we see things. Okay, so let's start with our main narrator, Alex Perchov. He's unforgettable. He's the Ukrainian translator, calls himself a writer.
And he has so many names.
She really does. There's Alex, obviously, but his mother calls him, Alexei, stop spleening me.
Because he's always spleening her, which seems to mean being out with friends, spending money.
Disseminating so much currency, as he puts it.
Right. And doing things that just, well, spleen a mother. Then his dad calls him Shapka for his hat. Little Igor, his brother, calls him Ali. It immediately tells you he's sort of different things to different people.
And his English. It's just incredible.
Oh, it's a character all on its own.
Totally. These phrases like flaccid to utter for easy to say, or using spleening for annoying, like he said.
Or manufacture Z's for sleeping. He tells Jonathan to dig this name. He talks about being carnal when he means, I think, maybe friendly or physical.
Yeah, and judging people on whether they have shit between their brains.
But it's more than just funny. His language, it's like a window into how he sees the world and this desire he has to be, what's the phrase he uses? Potent and generative.
Ah, right. So it's not just quirky mistakes, it's aspirational.
Exactly. It's performative. He's trying to craft this persona, maybe seem more worldly, more American than he feels.
Yeah.
He's using language to try and elevate himself.
That makes sense. And then there's his family. They're just as vivid. His father.
An overawing man.
Yeah. World champion at ending conversations. A first-rate puncher. Very practical, very no-nonsense, especially about Alex's dreams or his own father's supposed blindness.
And then little Igor, his miniature brother, the clumsy one.
Alex clearly loves him, though, tries to tutor him.
In some interesting ways, like the smutty magazine lesson.
Right, and explaining the 69 was invented in 1969.
It's strangely sweet in a way. Shows his affection.
And grandfather, the fat man, gold teeth, cultivating ample hairs.
Who becomes melancholy and claims he's blind after grandmother Anna dies.
Constantly yelling at Alex, Sasha, do not be so lazy, do not be so worthless.
Which Alex just chalks up to grief.
It seems like grief, yeah. And we absolutely cannot forget the dog.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Grandfather's bitch, named after his favorite singer.
And he insists she's a seeing-eye dog.
Even though the father's like, no way, and Alex himself says she's mentally deranged. Got her from the home for forgetful dogs.
Perfect, isn't it? That dynamic captures so much of the book's blurring of reality and, well, wishful thinking.
So this whole crew gets pulled into the main plot because of this troublesome supplication from heritage touring.
An American company. And Alex's father basically orders Alex to go with the American client.
Jonathan Safran Foer, the character. And Alex's first impression, not impressed.
Not at all. He expects, magazine Americans, yellow hairs and muscles. Or maybe history book Jews, no hairs and prominent bones.
But Jonathan is severely short, wears spectacles, has diminutive hairs, seems underwhelmed to the maximum.
It immediately sets up that clash of expectations.
And their first conversations are just miscommunications galore, like unbelievable being a girl's name.
Yeah, and the border guards being,
yeah,
well, let's just say, not very nice. It highlights the constant need for translation, not just linguistically, but culturally.
And Sammy Davis Jr. really steals the show early on.
Oh, absolutely. Eating Jonathan's passport, his money.
But crucially, she would not eat your glasses. She is not an animal.
Perfect Alex logic. Especially since Jonathan then admits he's terrified of dogs.
Right. After she keeps trying to lick his glasses, she's this chaotic element, but also somehow part of the team.
And the whole point of this trip for Jonathan is finding Trachenbrod, this lost shtetl.
And a woman named Augustine who supposedly saved his grandfather, Safran, from the Nazis.
After Safran lost his wife and baby when everyone else was killed. So there's this heavy historical mission underneath all the chaos and quirky language. Okay, so then we dive into this other narrative thread. The history of Trachenbrod itself. And right from the start, It's ambiguous.
Yeah, the founding in 1791. It hinges on whether Trackenby's wagon did or did not pin him at the bottom of the Broad River.
Exactly. That uncertainty is baked in from the beginning. History here isn't presented as solid fact, but as a story, a possibility.
Which leads to Trackham Day, this festival they held every year for 150 years.
Started as a contest to literally find Trackham, but it grew into this whole celebration with special food, costumes.
And all sorts of theories about what actually happened to him. Swept out to sea, ran off to avoid debt, or maybe reborn as the baby, Broad.
It's like the community collectively inventing its own origin story year after year.
And even the name? It was officially called Sophioka on maps after some squire.
Right, Mad Squire, Sophioka, but the people living there, they often just kept calling it Truckenbrod.
It's a small thing, but it says a lot about owning your own story, right? Rejecting the official version for the one that feels true, even if it's murky.
Definitely. And the characters in this historical part are just soaked in this kind of enduring sadness and strangeness, like Yankel D,
Who becomes Safran later, the disgraced usurer.
forced to wear that incriminating abacus bead. But he wasn't always disgraced. He founded the School for Loftier Learning, was admired.
And his love for Broad is so persistent, that note that keeps coming back to him that he just can't lose.
And Broad herself, found in the river, raised by the rabbi, watching the synagogue through a hole in the wall.
That image is so powerful, always slightly outside.
Yeah, and that feeling that she didn't love life, that she needed men to plug the dike against what she knew. She carries this immense sorrow.
Then there's the Kolker, Shalom, who also becomes Safran when he marries Broad. He wins Tracham Day.
But then that horrific accident happens. The disc saw blade in his skull.
Leading to those malicious eruptions, the abuse, but also moments of clarity, of love. It's so complicated.
And it results in that hole-in-the-wall relationship, communicating literally through a hole between rooms, a physical symbol of their fractured connection.
And Jonathan's actual grandfather, Safran, born with the dead right arm.
Which ironically saves him later. Saves him from the war, from Treblinka.
His hidden love story with the gypsy girl is central too. Their secrets, her wish for him to stay the same.
And then the arranged marriage to Zosha, and that deeply unsettling moment, his first orgasm during the German bombing raid.
Which makes him feel in love. It's such a disturbing mix of terror and intimacy.
Yeah. And the shtetl itself, it had these amazing ways of dealing with history and memory, the Book of Antecedents.
Like a living history book where everyone knew they'd eventually end up in its pages, documenting themselves collectively.
Or the time of dyed hands. Everyone's hands dyed different colors to catch a thief.
So the whole town becomes this canvas painted with the doings of its citizens, their actions literally marked on them.
And that idea of Jews have six senses.
Where memory isn't just remembering, it's visceral. No less primary than the prick of a pin, linking present feelings to ancestral ones.
Which really makes you ask, how do these collective memories, these traditions, shape who you are? Especially when history is so fluid, so reinterpreted all the time.
The book even gives us terms for it, right? ACE and IFACT.
Exactly. IFES is like the hypothetical, the belief, the what if. And IFACT is the imagined truth that grows out of that belief. It becomes real through belief.
So it's not just fact versus fiction, it's more nuanced. And how do artifice and artifact fit in?
Well, artifice is what you deliberately create based on those IFACTs, the stories, the rituals. And the artifact is the physical thing left behind. It's this really thoughtful way of showing how we construct meaning and history from ideas and imagination as much as from events.
We also get the 120 marriages of Joseph and Sarah L.
Oh, yeah. A symbol of enduring love, maybe. But also compromise. Their marriage contracts keep getting longer, reflecting all the adjustments and flaws of a real long life together.
And then the end of this history. The shtetl destroyed in 1942.
During another Trackham Day festival, the bombs illuminating the sky. Just brutal irony, turning this invented history into a very real, very final tragedy.
So as the main journey unfolds, this relationship between Alex and Jonathan, especially in their letters, becomes its own narrative layer.
Definitely. It's this really unique author-editor dynamic. Alex is translating Jonathan's chapters about Trackham Broad, but he's also editing.
And offering corrections on English idioms, like should a brick or to come in handy.
And commenting on the story choices. He's got opinions.
He certainly does. He's also writing his own parts, and he admits his stories about having many, many girls are not truths.
Yeah, he says he tells them to feel premium, which again ties into that idea of storytelling as self-creation presenting a version of himself.
And he gets really worked up about Jonathan's portrayal of his grandfather.
Oh, yeah. He cannot believe Jonathan will not permit your grandfather to be in love with the gypsy girl.
He calls Jonathan and his family cowards for disavowing love. It's quite a charge.
It really is. He's challenging Jonathan not just as a writer, but personally about how he deals with his own family history.
And he digs his heels in about Sammy Davis Jr. Jonathan wants to amputate her from the narrative.
Make it more refined, yeah. But Alex refuses. She's a distinguished character, he insists, with variegated appetites. He's protective of her role in their story.
This back and forth, it becomes this explicit commentary on what's true and what's fiction, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Alex literally asks Jonathan, "We are being very nomadic with the truth, yes, the both of us." He questions why they don't just make the story more premium than life. It pushes you, the listener, to think about what we expect from stories, pure fact, or something else.
And this leads Alex to this really profound moment of realization.
Yeah, where he understands they're essentially working on the same story, that they can offer each other safety and peace.
And he asks that amazing string of questions. I am the gypsy girl and you are Safran. I am Kolker and you are Broad. I am your grandmother and you are grandfather. I am Alex and you are you. I am you and you are me.
It's such a powerful articulation of how their identities are becoming intertwined through this shared act of storytelling and searching. It collapses the distance between them, between past and present, fiction and reality.
His commentary really underlines the persnicketyness of memory, as he calls it, and how telling stories, even flawed ones, is how we process things, how we connect across generations. They're literally building meaning together.
So eventually they find Augustine, or rather Lista, which is her real name.
After a long, frustrating search, and she's this aged woman living in a house just filled with boxes.
Meticulously labeled boxes.
Yeah.
Weddings and other celebrations. Privates. Journals, diaries, sketchbooks, underwear.
And darker ones, too. Darkness, death of the firstborn, dust. It's like her entire life and the life of the village is archived in these boxes.
A physical archive of memory. And at first, she denies Treckenbrod even exists anymore. It ended 50 years ago, she says.
But then Jonathan shows her the photograph, his grandfather's picture, and everything changes.
It's incredibly dramatic. I have been waiting for you for so long. You are here. I am it. And just this river of tears.
She goes from being this guardian of a dead past to suddenly being the living embodiment of it.
And she starts pulling things from a box labeled remains, little fragments of lost lives. Miriam's hair clip.
The one she used because she sucked her thumb. These tiny personal details that make the loss so tangible.
They're not just objects. They're proof. Proof of lives that were almost completely erased.
And this leads them to the actual site of Treckenbrod, which is nothing.
Just a dark field. She emphasizes the utter destruction. And she tells them these horrifying stories about the end, the war, the general demanding a woman spit or no more baby, just unimaginable brutality.
And amidst all this horror and sadness, the final shattering truth comes out from another box.
The in-case box. Jonathan finds the book of past occurrences, like a local history. And then Alex picks up just a simple photograph.
And Jonathan looks at it and oh my God, realizes the man in the photo looks exactly like Alex, a doppelganger.
And then Alex's grandfather finally confesses the truth he's been hiding behind his blindness.
Herschel was a Jew, and he was my best friend, and I murdered him.
Just completely. That photo, Alex's double, and the confession, it snaps all the threads together. Family, identity, guilt, the unbearable weight of the past. Grandfather talks about how he and Herschel believed in things, were living on such a needle. It hints at the impossible situation, the terrible choices people were forced to make.
You know, thinking back, that idea of the whole keeps coming up. Broad's idea.
Right. That the whole is not the exception in life, but the rule.
Yeah.
And crucially, the whole is no void. The void exists around it.
It really fits, doesn't it? All the gaps in memory, the lost place, Treckenbrod itself, the things we can't know about the past.
Absolutely. The novel uses these holes, these gaps in history, memory, relationships, not as absences, but as defining features. They're what shape the narrative, what motivates the characters. The emptiness isn't empty. It's defined by what surrounds it, but what we try to fill it with.
And all the characters, whether they're real, like Alex and Grandfather, or fictional, like Broad and Yankel, they're all constantly wrestling with memory, with truth.
They're actively creating narratives to make sense of the past, to cope with loss. It's what humans do.
And the novel itself, the way it's structured, fragmented, layered, sometimes contradictory, it mirrors that process perfectly.
Exactly. It embodies its own themes about how complex history and memory really are. It doesn't give you a single neat story because memory isn't neat. History isn't neat.
So this deep dive doesn't really end with solid answers, does it? It ends with a much deeper sense of how complicated truth is and how powerfully history, both personal and collective, shapes us.
We've seen characters invent, remember, misremember, forget, collaborate, all to build their stories, blurring those lines between fact and imagination constantly.
So maybe a final thought for you, our listener, as you reflect on all this. How much of your own story, your family's history, your sense of who you are is constructed in a similar way? From memory, sure, but also imagination, things half remembered, things deliberately told or untold.
And does thinking about truth as maybe being a bit nomadic, as Alex puts it, change how you view your own past, or the big stories the world tells us? Something to ponder.